What I'm about to teach you in this particular episode is kind of like a life hack. This is something that I've been doing for the last few years, and it's had a really positive impact on my life. And it doesn't even have anything to do with productivity or focus. It has a lot to do with your intention and purpose and actually putting in the work instead of taking in all these things that are going on in your life, such as consuming, whether it's content or books or podcasts or courses and all these things. And trust me, I am a lifelong learner. I love learning. I love incorporating new things into my life and into my world. But I had to really take tally of what I was doing and actually finally stop myself and say, okay, enough of consuming. Let's start creating. And this doesn't just apply to content creators or creatives or business owners. What I'm about to talk about here is going to, really resonate with anyone who is listening, especially you if you don't have a business or if you're not a content creator. You're really going to be able to take away a lot from what I'm about to talk about. The theme of this particular episode is to stop consuming and start creating. Hello दोस्त, hello friend, how are you? क्या हाल है आपका? क्या हाल है तुम्हारा? Welcome to episode 32 of the Abundant Desi podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. Again, as always, thank you for taking time out of your busy life, out of your busy schedule to join me here on our weekly date as we cover all sorts of incredible topics. And today's episode is, again, very unique, very original, and it is something that I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time. Now, I've touched on the topic of consuming versus creating in some previous episodes, but this is the theme of today's show. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about how you need to stop consuming and start creating, and we're going to break it down into my top 10 reasons why you need to stop consuming and start creating. And before I jump into this list that I put together for you, I want to really set this up with a huge caveat. What I'm about to talk about when it comes to consuming and consuming less and creating more, I want you to be a lifelong learner always. I am a lifelong learner. I feel like I'm constantly learning every single day, but then it's putting things into practice. But the big caveat that I really want you to understand is if you are consuming stuff that really inspires you and helps you really take a sense of direction on a daily basis, then keep doing that. Okay, if you're consuming stuff that inspires you to be better, keep doing that. What I'm going to talk about is stuff that when you consume, it actually makes you want to curl up in a ball and not leave your room. Okay, I'm talking about stuff that you're consuming to a point that is really bringing out the sense of lack. You know, the scarcity mindset. So I really want to start with that. So if anything you're consuming is really helping you in your journey, continue doing that. Okay, so let's really dive into these 10 lessons. The very first reason that I want you to stop consuming and start creating is you are going to fall into a less of a comparison game, okay? We've talked about comparison before and how Theodore Roosevelt has said comparison is the thief of joy. And, I'm always teaching you to stay in your own lane and put your blinders on and don't be too focused on what everyone else is doing. But this is really important with creating content and not consuming it, and actually putting in the work and stop like constantly learning and actually start putting what you've learned and put it into practice. This really applies to social media. Again, I started doing this a couple of years ago, and I've noticed a huge difference in my creativity, in my business, in my life. And so I talk about this a lot with the Abundant Desi, with even the Instagram page. A lot of people still message me and say, Arslan, I've noticed you have 15,000 people that follow you, but you only have 98 people that you're following, because I have an actual focus with the Abundant Desi Instagram page. And my focus there is that I'm there to create content and not consume it. So I had a personal profile on Instagram. The Abundant Desi is more personal. I had a private page where I was, following my colleagues and other people in the industry, and a lot of people that were doing similar things to what I wanted to do. And I really found myself falling into that comparison game. I was constantly comparing myself to like, whoa, why did they get to have this? Why did they get to that? And it was really toxic, and I wanted to really eliminate that from my life. And so the comparison game really falls into different things. It's not just like content that other people are creating, but it's also like success. You might see how successful someone is, or you might see how wealthy they are, and it really like it brings you down, and you end up not wanting to do anything because you start telling yourself, I'm never going to be as good as they are, which is so unfair to you and to your journey. And so it's really nice to just focus on creating and not consuming content. The second thing that is really awesome about creating versus consuming is you end up eliminating the whole analysis paralysis thing. Again, there's a whole episode dedicated to this, but the issue with consuming way too much content and not really putting in the work and actually going out and creating something is we tend to overanalyze the things that we don't have. We don't realize that we can really work with what we have, but we always look at what other people have as in regards to, like, for example, as a content creator, you may say, this person has an incredible camera, or they have an incredible audio system, or whatever it is. Like, I want to start a podcast, but I can't because this person has an incredible podcasting mic and I don't have that, and my stuff isn't going to sound good, so what's the point? Or their camera is way better than mine. And so we really tend to overanalyze our gear, and then we, again, fall into that scarcity mindset. So that's why it's really nice to not really consume too much and start creating, because you'll be surprised at how incredible of content and things you can start putting together with even the stuff that you have, taking that imperfect action again. And again, don't be so focused and so hard on yourself about, the things that you do or don't have. Like, really use this as practice, and you can create some incredible things with what you do have, and you'll be so surprised. So don't overanalyze the things you do or don't have, okay? The third thing on the list is, if you create more and consume less, you're really going to build your confidence. I get questions all the time, Arsalan, how can I be more confident? How can I start being more assertive? How can I have more of a sense of that I am enough and I can start doing the things that I want to do? The best way to do it is just start doing and start practicing and start putting yourself out there. When you consume less and create more, you start putting in the work and you start practicing, and you actually you take that first step. Sometimes the first step is the hardest, and you start taking that first step, and then you really eliminate all these things going on around you. You really eliminate what everyone else is doing, and you really stay in your own lane, and you don't really worry about what other people are using for their gear, or what other people are doing with their life, or like where they're headed in their journey. And you just focus on your own. You stay in your own lane, and you end up building confidence. And what ends up happening is you don't realize this, but you get into this amazing headspace where you get up and you're like, I'm not even worried about what other people are doing. I'm just going to keep on doing my own thing. And you feel so confident because you are doing the things that you love doing. You are putting in the work, and other people are taking note, especially in your tribe and community that you're building. They're going to really take note of that and say, wow, you're really putting in the work. I love your content. I love everything you're doing. And so you're not too focused on everyone else, and you're actually putting in the work and putting the work out there, and confidence is just going to exude through you. Okay, this is one of my favorite ones, actually. So number 4, moving right on to number 4, is when you create more and consume less, you really hold yourself accountable. Okay, accountability is so important. Accountability actually is linked to confidence, because when you hold yourself to a level of trust and really have high standards for yourself, really have high standards for yourself that, okay, I'm going to put in the work, I'm gonna do this thing, I'm really gonna start putting all these pieces together and really taking that initial step. You hold yourself accountable. And when you hold yourself accountable in your creativity and actually creating content or producing the thing that you want to do, or taking that initial first step, you're able to then see accountability in other aspects of your life. Again, for example, if you want to start going to the gym, when you start holding yourself accountable with a daily routine and eating properly, and maybe putting in the work, you're really going to hold yourself accountable with going to the gym. So it is a bigger picture. It's a long game. There's a lot that goes into it. And when the people say lifestyle change is really important with fitness, lifestyle change is really important with other areas of your life as well, such as creativity. So when you start creating and not consuming as much, you really put on that sense of accountability, and it's fantastic. It's a great feeling. And number 5 on the list of why you should be creating and not consuming is you're going to start adding more time to your schedule. This is so awesome because you don't realize how much time you are spending consuming content, how much time you're spending consuming what other people are doing, how much time you're spending consuming just even things you want to learn, books and videos and training modules and all this stuff, which is great. Again, I want you to be a lifelong learner, but you have to get to a point where you say, okay, I have learned enough for the past year. I'm going to keep learning, but what I've learned over the past year, I'm going to start putting into practice, because some people really get into this headspace again, this mindset of like they have to keep consuming and learning and learning and learning, and they learn so much that they end up forgetting what they learned even a year ago, and new stuff starts like really stacking on, and but they still haven't even taken action on the stuff that they did learn. So you're going to add a lot more time to your day when you consume less and start actually creating more work, because then you're really not focused on really looking at like, okay, what is the next big thing, what do I need to create next, what is the next hot thing that's happening in my industry, so I can really have my eye on it. Instead of doing that, starting putting in the work, you add more time to your day so you can actually focus on, again, if you want to learn more, you can keep learning more, but putting in the work and actually creating something is going to open up your schedule to do a lot more things on a daily and weekly basis. And you really take note of this. It's actually powerful how quickly this begins to happen when you start practicing creating more and consuming less. Number 6 on this list is you will have less anxiety and less worry. Again, there's a lot of things going on in your life if you deal with worry or anxiety or fears around a bunch of random things. And one of those things might be the anxiety and worry and fear of not actually putting in the work that you should be. You feel guilt and you feel shame. A lot of people put things off, they procrastinate, and we're going to really talk about procrastination in a future episode. I'm going to do a masterclass on that because I know a lot of you have been asking for it, but procrastination is really linked to after you procrastinate, it's really linked to shame and guilt, right? And it all starts with anxiety and worry. So you want to create something, but you keep putting things off, you're procrastinating, and you end up consuming more, consuming more and more and more, and you're creating less and less and less, and that anxiety really tends to build up and spill over. So when you really take a step back and actually say, okay, I don't want to consume anymore, I'm going to start putting in the work, that anxiety is slowly going to start peeling back, and you're going to be able to really focus and be less lazy. Let's talk about being lazy and not actually doing the work, and you're going to procrastinate less as well. So why this is so important. A lot of you have been asking, how do I overcome anxiety around things like this, around my creativity, around the things that I want to do? This is a big one. Don't put things off. Don't take in too much information and not actually put in the work, okay? Really be mindful of what you're consuming and actually put in the work and create something. Number 7 on the list is you eliminate the need for approval, okay? This is really small, but it has a big lesson behind it. Is when you are constantly consuming and not actually putting in the work, what you end up doing is, the reason you may be consuming and not creating is you're constantly seeking approval for your work or the thing that you're producing or creativity, and again, putting things off until I'm going to start when I have the right equipment, or I'm going to start when I have enough money, or if I have this, or if I have that, whatever it may be, whatever your situation may be, you're seeking approval. Not even approval from others, like colleagues or family members, approval even from yourself. You feel like you need to have someone say, yes, it's time to start now. And until that person says that, you're not going to start. So when you just start and take that step and start creating and start putting in the work, that approval, that sense of approval kind of diminishes, because then the only person you're holding accountable is yourself, and the only approval you need is from yourself, and everything you need is already within you. So that need for approval just kind of diminishes when you actually start putting in the work. Number 8 is probably one of my favorites. When you start creating more and consuming less, you are going to start opening up more doors to opportunity in your life. Think about this, okay? You are going to start putting in the work. You're going to start creating content. You're going to start actually putting in all these things that you've learned, putting them into practice with, again, whatever it is that's going on in your life that you're really putting off because you just keep wanting to learn more and wait and wait and wait. When you actually start something, you're going to open up a lot of doors, because you end up not consuming the content. You start creating the things that you need to start creating. As you put more work out, people are going to take note. People are going to take note of what you're doing. Maybe potential clients, potential businesses, potential vendors, potential partners. They're going to take notice of the stuff that you're putting on, and they're going to see like the level of quality and the care and diligence and focus you're putting into what you're doing. Even the smallest things matter, and you end up opening up all these doors of possibilities of people wanting to partner with you or hire you for a project or a job, or even like connect with you and collaborate. So putting in the work is really going to help you be more successful. And so creating more stuff is going to really open up a lot of opportunities for you. I promise you, this is a big one. And then number 9 kind of goes hand in hand with that, is as you create more and consume less, you're going to build a bigger audience, right? Think about that. Let's say you create something and then you fall off the grid for like months on end. All these people that you have been creating stuff for, they're waiting for you. You're like, even if it's a small audience that you're building, a couple hundred here and there, after even a couple of weeks, people will start taking note that you're no longer posting something, and they're gonna really dial it back and say, okay, it looks like they're not posting anymore, or they're not creating anymore. And so you're leaving a lot of people up in the air, because they trust you, and they love what you're putting out there, because they've taken the time out of their life to actually follow you or follow what you're creating, and they really enjoy it. So when you start putting in the work, you're going to start building an audience. And no matter how, again, I talk about this all the time, it's not about vanity metrics. It doesn't matter how small or big your audience is. It's about how dedicated your audience is. And it's that focused engagement. It's not just the likes. It's not just the shares. It's the focused comments. It's the comments that are actually deliberate, that are diligent, that are focused, and that are actually, really helping you become a better creator or an artist or a business owner or just an all-around human being. So when you create more and consume less, your audience is going to get bigger, your tribe is going to get bigger, but you have to stay consistent and be patient and consume less and create more, right? And then number 10, I'm gonna use this really fun metaphor that I heard a few months ago on a podcast, and this amazing individual was on there, a well-known photographer, and his name escapes me right now. I probably should have written his name before I started recording, but maybe I'll put it in the show notes. But he was on this incredible podcast, and he was talking about how a lot of people spend their life wanting to be so original and so unique that they get so caught up in their own head that they have to be just the most unique, amazing person ever. And so what they end up doing is, in order to be unique, they end up just doing what everyone else is doing, because they get so in their own headspace that they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. The reason they're doing that is because they're consuming so much content. They're taking in so much that they don't even know how to be original anymore with their own work, because they see other people's work and they're like, okay, it looks like this is what's hot right now, or this is what's happening. So I'm going to start creating that, but I'm going to try to make it look like it's my own kind of like uniqueness and my own flair, but I'm really just going to go ahead and create what other people are creating. And so what ends up happening is, the metaphor he uses, a lot of people, what they want to do is they want to be original. They want to be like a tomato. But what they end up being is like ketchup, what comes from a tomato. So you take a tomato and then tomato becomes ketchup. So a lot of people, what they end up doing is they become a ketchup instead of a tomato, because they are consuming so much content that they're really distilling their own creativity. They're really distilling it down and really smashing it in, right? Like they take a tomato and they start smashing it and they distill it, because they don't really know what that original thing for them is. What is their originality? And so the beautiful thing about creating more and consuming less is you get in this amazing flow after a few weeks. Even after a few weeks, you'll notice this. When you stop consuming what other people are doing and stop focusing on what other people are doing and actually start putting in the work, something really unique happens. You get this light bulb goes off, and you start really honing in on your own personal flavor and sense of style and the thing that you are amazing at, and you start just kind of swaying through your own art and creativity, and your uniqueness really just exudes then through your work, and then you end up becoming that tomato that other people want to copy, but in fact what they're doing is they're also creating a ketchup version which comes from you. And the reason I talk about this is, like, even with the Abundant Desi, I love experimenting and creating these very unique videos on Instagram that you may have seen, that are telling unique stories and nuances through my own personal journey, taking lessons from my own life and really putting it in a perspective that makes sense to other people, but really teaching small lessons, again, from things that I've learned, but then putting it in a way that other people can understand as well. This is the beauty of you. You are a tomato. You are a tomato. You are unique. You are original. And you don't need to be going out to copying what other people are doing because you are so burnt out on your own, in your own head, and so overwhelmed because you don't know where to start. So the first thing you think of is like, okay, I got to start creating what other people are creating. And so you may think like, there's so many people in this market, there's so many people in this industry, there's so many people doing the same thing that I'm doing, and so you get so caught up in your head. The reason you get caught up in your head when you say there's so many people doing what I'm doing is because you're consuming all this stuff. You're consuming all these things from other people, and so you get caught up in your head like, oh, this is not going to work because everyone else is doing it. So you go on Instagram or YouTube and you start typing in your niche market or your niche audience or the thing that you're making, and it may start off as an inspirational journey, like, oh, I want to be inspired what other people are doing, but then you start looking at what other people are doing. And again, this goes back to what I said at the beginning of this episode. If you're finding inspiration in something and it really does inspire you to go out and create something that's unique and unique to you, keep doing it, okay? But most people, I would say more than 90% of people, what they do is they'll get on this reign of like, okay, I'm going to look up inspiration. And the more and more and more they look, they end up really feeling the sense of defeat, the sense of loss. Like, oh, so many people are doing what I'm doing. What's the point anymore? And so they end up creating nothing. Or they see what other people can do. They're like, okay, it looks like this is what I need to be making as well to really, really make something happen. And then again, they end up becoming that ketchup and not the original tomato, right? So again, I really am a huge advocate of being this person that just really takes a step back and stops consuming what other people are doing and putting your blinders on, staying in your own lane, and really putting in the work and creating the thing that you really want to create. Doing the stuff that you really want to do. You are so unique. You have this gift. You have a voice. You have this nuance to you. You have this originality, and I really want you to explore that. I really want you to put in the work, and I really want you to take a step back. Are you doing this? Are you consuming way too much stuff in your own life? Are you on this record of just learning, and have you not put in to practice what you have been learning from your mentors, from your coaches, from podcasts, from videos, even from the Abundant Desi, okay? The stuff, we're in episode 32. I've been teaching you a unique lesson in pretty much every single episode. Are you putting into practice what I've been teaching you? I've been teaching you a lot of things on productivity, on focus, on overcoming analysis paralysis, on 5 pillars of starting a business, on law of attraction, on mental health. So many things. We've covered so many incredible lessons, and there's so much more ahead yet still to come. Are you putting into practice what I'm teaching you? Okay, I want you to keep obviously learning, because my mission here is to empower, educate, and inspire you. Okay, that's one of the pillars of the Abundant Desi, is to inspire you. So this is meant to inspire you. This is in no way meant to make you feel like you can create what Arslan is creating, okay? Again, you and I, we are in this together. I want you to flourish and I want you to succeed, and I don't ever want you to feel defeated when you see any of my content either. Sometimes I'll get comments saying, people are saying like, Arslan, I wanted to get into video, but I see your work and I might as well stop right now because I'm never going to be as good as you, and have to stop them. I'm like, no, you can't give up. What are you talking about? You are so unique. You can tell a story in such a brilliant, unique way because you have your own life, you have your own stories, you have your own originality like that tomato, okay? So again, listen to this a few times because I know I talked about a lot of things super fast, but please listen to this, take some notes, and reach out to me. Let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please head over to Instagram and give us a little follow, and send a little bit of love, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast, the audio version. And if you're listening to the audio version, head over to YouTube, head over to Instagram, and give me a hello dose. I would love to connect with you. And as always, reach out. Let me know if there's anything going on in your world that I can be of assistance with, of value with. I'm here to help you. I want to see you succeed. I love you, those. Go out there and be amazing, be abundant, and we will see you soon. Thank you, those.